Welcome to Caleb Can't Read. I'm Jordan Rabel.
I'm Caleb Terrence.
I like how you just you announce your name and you just took a big swig. Like,
well,
you're just really done with
this. Isn't
the beginning.
Well, I mean, normally this is where the reins go to you. So you.
I don't really have anything. But,
handle the getting into this like a good host, if you will, since you do so proudly hold that title over me.
Yeah, all your equipment is labeled number 2. Okay.
Because it's a piece of shit.
Fuck, marry, kill.
All right. What do you got? Come on out with it.
The 3 Spider-Men.
Oh, thank God. I thought you were having a heart attack. Okay.
Not today. I ignored one yesterday. So
okay,
you got
man.
Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and Andrew Garfield.
All right, we'll kill Andrew Garfield.
Damn.
Well, I never saw those, so that's I would feel the least remorse about.
You at least know what he looks like, right?
I mean, yeah, I know he exists as a person, but
you know how good looking he is.
If I had,
aside from the other 2, right?
Look, in this scenario, I literally have to kill one of them. I don't have any empathy for this man. He's gotta go.
Okay, no. Now, we're not going to go too into this because I don't want to know the rest of your bad opinions, but I am going to say you took a look at Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. Mm-hmm. You decided to kill off the most attractive one, and so you're going to either fuck or marry the most childlike looking one, which is Tom Holland.
Tom Holland seems very friendly.
I'm sure he's very nice. I don't hear the same thing about Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire is very scary.
You can try to kill Tobey Maguire. As it turns out, that option is grayed out on the screen.
No. This is fuck, marry, kill. In fuck, marry, kill, there is no like we're not bringing up like whether or not you'd be able to kill someone. This is just that's out of the question. It's just kill.
Good luck.
Okay. I have some very cherished childhood memories with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Okay, but I also know that Tobey Maguire is terrifying.
He's going to fuck you.
Oh no, but I guess it's not Tobey Maguire himself. It is the character, correct?
I guess so.
Yeah. Weird Spider-Man, not charismatic Spider-Man, but hot Spider-Man. Fuck Tobey Maguire. Marry Tom Holland. Yeah, kill the... I don't even remember his name.
It's Garfield.
Kill Garfield?
Yeah.
All right.
Today's headline news. Caleb Can't Read wants to kill Garfield.
Yeah, I guess.
Fuck that cat.
Imagine if we were in a headline...
Oh, yeah, we can still do it. I got it.
I mean,
open up that drawer. I got a surprise for you.
I mean, yeah, technically it's fucking possible.
I've been storing weapons for years.
Whoa, you meant like that. Okay, was not following with you there. Holy shit. Give me about 6 more months of living in my current conditions of stress, and I might, You
got like 10 more beers, and then we're doing it.
10 more. If 10 more beers would have done it, it would have happened a long time ago.
But you didn't have me.
Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should edit that bit out.
Well, let's get started, shall we?
Yeah.
Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin was born August 30th, 1797 in London, England, to her father William and her mother, also named Mary.
We just... Okay, you're going somewhere with this. All right.
Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin.
Okay.
A mere 11 days after birth, her mother passed away from an infection resulting from leftover placenta in the womb. Is this ringing a bell at all?
Yes.
Now, for anyone who skipped over our last episode, or for those that need a reminder, Mary Wollstonecraft was one of the founding mothers to the feminist movement. She had the radical idea that women should have an equal education and not be sent to insane asylums for disobeying their husbands. And for a while, everything was great. People totally got behind the idea. However, after Mary Wollstonecraft's death, her widowed husband, William Godwin, the father of modern-day anarchy, by the way, published a memoir detailing her life. Unfortunately, as revolutionary as Mary Wollstonecraft was with her ideas, people weren't quite ready to see her as a human who made mistakes. While William Godwin released the memoirs with nothing but the utmost respect for her, no one was ready to admire a woman who had 2 suicide attempts and a daughter out of wedlock, who was her first child and the newborn Mary Godwin's half-sibling, Fanny Imlay. It just wasn't womanly enough for them. Well, because of the mass disregard for Mary Wollstonecraft's works, her books wouldn't be reprinted for another 200 years when the feminist movement of the 1980s rediscovered her work. However, both Fanny Imlay and the young Mary Godwin were taught her philosophy from a very young age by their father, but not to really live by them. Turns out women having somewhat equal rights was a little too liberal for even William Godwin, but he did fully support the right to a woman's education.
Baby steps, I guess.
Over generations,
Yeah.
I guess.
Relatively better.
Ish, yeah. Yeah.
Relatively.
She could tie her own shoes now. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, William Godwin, who was now a widowed father with a newborn and a 3-year-old, began his work on a play called Antonio, or The Soldier's Return, which would hopefully bring his family out of debt. Finally releasing 3 years later in December of 1800, the play was a total failure. Knowing he'd have no choice but to go halvesies on the bills, William began dating again. But who
That's not a good idea.
to just do it out of money issues?
Yeah.
Find yourself a winner. But who better and quicker to get the ship sailing than his neighbor?
You're wanting equality for the wrong reasons there, buddy.
Well, I do like, I got to admire a man who saw the necessity of feeding his kids and paying his bills, so he started courting just his neighbor, the next closest woman.
Just fucking anybody.
Mary Jane Clairmont. Now, I know this is a lot of Marys, but we're done talking about the mother Mary Wollstonecraft now. From now on, Mary will be Mary Godwin, the little girl,
Okay.
and Mary Jane is Mary Jane Clairmont, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Mary Jane also had a couple kids of her own, Charles and Claire, and they, too, were wedlock babies from 2 different dads. But Mary Jane never revealed that to people. In fact, she had a whole backstory involving a fake husband from a quote-unquote prominent Swiss family who died and all this shit. In reality, her name was Mary Jane DeVille. But keeping up with her bullshit story, she went by her quote-unquote dead husband's surname of Claremont. She just overcomplicated shit, really. Anyway, the courtship William Godwin and Mary Jane had was brief, as Mary Jane quickly got knocked up and, not wanting to have a child out of wedlock, William again opted for marriage. And so it was that on December 21st, 1801, the two were wed. Unfortunately, the baby died soon after birth, but after trying again, they successfully had a son, whom they named William Godwin the Younger.
The young, like, was that a title or did they literally name him?
That's what they named him. Isn't that cool? I wish that I had that. Jordan Rabel the Skinny. Ah, yes, there I am.
Dr. the Younger?
Now remember, this marriage was meant to keep the Godwins afloat, but it didn't work. Mary Jane was poor too. So they tried to open up a parchment and bookstore together, but all it did was put them further into debt. This meant that the Godwin children could not receive a formal education since that shit costs. However, education was still important to William Godwin, so he elected to homeschool the children. Usually this wouldn't be a good thing, but William Godwin and all his friends were fucking philosophers and scientists. When she was in her teens, Mary Godwin would even stay abroad with her family friends, getting lectures from their philosopher fathers, so William could focus on his failing parchment and book business. And it was here that Mary would find a love for writing fiction with her friends. It was also very important for all of Godwin's children, legitimate or otherwise, to be stout anarchists, which they all were.
You just make a rule for them to be anarchists?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I
realize that's just getting down into the, like...
No,
you know,
it's still
but-
shitty to, like, force your beliefs on your children. I just haven't heard that angle before, where it's like, and my children shall become, oh, here we fucking go, anarchists. Oh, well, okay.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds rad.
Sounds dangerous. Yeah. Sorry.
Sick.
Now, Mary Jane, the stepmother, had a particular ire for Fanny and Mary, probably because they weren't her own kids. And so she raised her daughter Claire and sons Charles and William the Younger better than the other two. While Fanny and Mary would just barely have any formal education, Claire, about the same age as Mary, was sent to a boarding school where she mastered French. And even later in life, Claire would go on to master 5 languages, supposedly. I couldn't actually find any real sources for this besides Claire herself.
I don't know, some people would just do that shit. Like,
yeah, but it's her saying it, and everyone afterwards was like, well, she said she could. We don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, who's going to fucking call her out on it? Who knows that many languages?
I don't know.
Like,
yeah, it's like somebody comes out speaking Russian. She's like, no, that's not one of the languages. Somebody else comes out speaking Spanish, not getting warmer. Like,
no.
You got to guess what the fucking language is.
No. I didn't learn any of the brown people languages.
I don't doubt it, honestly. I think for the time, German was also very an astute kind of thing for you to learn.
What?
Yeah, like French and German were the two that people were really
like about.
Yeah, for whatever fucking reason. But no matter how much Mary Jane hoped for Claire to see Mary and Fanny as lessers like she did, all the kids actually got along great. But poor Fanny, during all of this, was very much an afterthought to everyone. While William the Younger was sent to a pretentious boarding school, it was very much the parental fight over who was the better kid, Mary or Claire. And Fanny, who was technically neither William Godwin or Mary Jane Claremont's kid, tended to her parents' failing business and often had to ask for loans for her dad. He wouldn't do it himself. To quote...
There's way too much pride for that. Got to send my daughter.
Tell him about the anarchy thing. Yeah, Dad, okay. Yeah. To quote William Godwin in a letter, quote, "My own daughter is considerably superior in capacity to the one her mother had before. My own daughter is, I believe, very pretty. Fanny is by no means handsome, but in general, prepossessing." Bro, he called her appealing.
Is that prepossessing?
He's just like, she's got an interesting face, you know?
Word.
Oh, my daughter. No, not that one, the ugly one.
That's the kind of statement when it's called out. It's just like, no, I didn't mean, I hate it.
Now, to switch gears a little bit, Percy Bysshe Shelley was born August 4th, 1792 in Sussex, England, to Sir Timothy and Elizabeth Shelley. I'm not going to go too far into Percy's life because he was largely influential and interesting in his own right, and to talk about him now would be a waste of a good episode, as I found out while researching this one. Only to find out that Mary Wollstonecraft was so goddamn fascinating, so I had to do that one too. Anyway, what's relevant to today's episode is to know that Percy was manic, hot-headed, and fucking loaded. Percy's father was a member...
Like with money or substances? Oh.
A little of both, actually, as we'll find out.
Right.
Percy's father was a member of Parliament, and his parents were barons to some goddamn castle. Percy had a reputation at Oxford for being the first to fight and suffering hallucinations, probably resulting from his bad insomnia, leading to the students calling him Mad Shelley. That is, before being expelled from Oxford for mailing a pamphlet he wrote to all the teachers called The Necessity of Atheism.
One of those.
The first edgelord. He just, walks out in his fucking Vans.
Look, man, we're not saying you're wrong. We're just... It's weird that you're presenting this to us like we don't already know all of this.
Really clutching your pearls, huh? No, we've all been 14, we know. When he was 19, Percy Shelley married the 16-year-old Harriet Westbrook out of the blue. Now, Percy was obviously being a fucking whirlwind of destruction, so Percy's dad cut off his allowance, because nothing hurts the rich more than taking away their money. Soon after, Percy found out that his childhood hero, author of Inquiry Concerning Political Justice, William Godwin, was still alive. Feeling that he could replace his own father with William Godwin as a sort of surrogate father figure, Percy showed up on the Godwin doorstep, offering his servitude as his disciple. Godwin, perhaps rightfully a little scared, listened to Percy's story and told him he should just make amends with his father, and for the great William Godwin, Percy would do anything. But soon enough, Percy was visiting the Godwin residence on an almost daily basis, And all three of the Godwin girls, Mary, Claire, and Fanny, were smitten. Percy asked Godwin if Fanny, now 18, could come live with him and his wife. Because remember, he is married. And Godwin...
He told him that was really creepy and to get the fuck out of there, right?
Yeah. Godwin, knowing Percy was a weird little bastard, was like, no. Besides...
In no timeline or context is that appropriate. Leave my property at once.
He was already having a rough time without Percy being around. His business was still in decline, and Mary and Mary Jane were as spiteful towards one another as ever. And he knew he could have Percy pay off all his debts if he asked him to, but he didn't want to take that step. He didn't want to be in debt to this now 21-year-old kid that seemed to fly off the handle at any given moment. But suddenly, he sees Percy starting to hang around a bit more often than he'd like him to, with his 16-year-old Mary, and he tries to immediately put a stop to it. But against Godwin's wishes, Percy and Mary began seeing one another in secret. Their meeting place was Mary Wollstonecraft's grave at the St. Pancras Old Church. Don't look at me like that. I didn't make this up.
Ew!
Oh, here you go. Soon enough, on June 26, 1814, they declared their love for each other and fucked on top of her mother's grave.
Okay.
Did you one better?
How the fuck? Why is this written down? We're in one of those episodes
because
why is this documented?
Back then, everyone documented everything because they didn't have anything better to do. If you're not writing down shit in your diary of what you did and what you read, then you have to read again.
No, hang on. I'm sorry. But did somebody look at it and then go report it and document it? Or did they just say they did?
No, she did it.
We're just trusting her word there. This sounds a little fucking extra.
Actually, so as I later found out from Nicole, this was actually...
Dude, okay, what? No. If you're trying to be secretive about shit, you don't fuck on graves.
Actually, yes, you did, and it was very common. As I later found out from Nicole...
Well, if it's common, then someone would have seen it, therefore not
that common. But, I mean, for people that didn't have their own place, fairly common. Because, A, it's old century England. There's a lot of graveyards because people keep dying. And 2... you weren't at a graveyard unless you had a purpose. You weren't at a cemetery unless you were there seeing someone, and people rarely ever visit cemeteries. It was a nice, quiet spot to bone.
Were they just like woods?
Well, no, but they had a bunch of those the headstones all over the place. You could just like crouch behind one and just start whacking at it.
Yeah, but shit's all in like lanes. All you gotta do is look down one. Oh, that's why they're all in lanes now, huh?
Probably.
Oh, okay. All right. No, we gotta grid this shit.
Also, the invention of golf carts.
Just one haggard old groundskeeper like, no, lanes, dude, lanes. You don't want to get surprised like that.
Yeah, same reason orchards are in lanes.
Just some like fucking 60-year-old groundsman in a cemetery around the corner, just like, oh god, damn it,
like, Mom. Yeah, and
get the fuck out of here!
Same reason that they invented golf carts. A lot of people think, due to the name, it was invented for golf. Turns out it was just to cruise down these cemeteries at the ungodly speed of 15 and just make sure, like, no, there's one. Just
no, God, fucking damn it! Like,
now William Godwin thought that if Percy was going to always hang around and pop his daughters, maybe the least he could do is pay off his debts for him. But when he found out Percy was ostracized from his allowance, that was kind of the final straw for Godwin. He refused Mary to see the boy anymore. And you know that old term, the tighter you hold the leash, the further they'll run when it snaps. Well, just a month after, on July 28th, 1814, Mary and Percy ran away to the European continent, taking Claire with them and leaving Fanny behind. To be fair, she was in Wales studying at the time, but it's still kind of shitty. Anyway, the three kids that ran off thought they were fucking slick, right? Like, now they're on their own, and ain't nobody gonna tell them what to do. But, like, them running away, the Godwins figured it out pretty quick. Mary Jane was on the next...
Hey, our kids are gone. Like, that quick, or...?
Yeah, kind of. It was just like, oh, look at them. We're missing a couple bags, and their dresses are missing.
You know what's going to give it away? That dude not coming by and being like, where the fuck did they go?
Mary Jane was on the next ferry to France where she knew they'd go. The kids hadn't even left the city of Calais where they had landed before bumping into Mary Jane a couple hours later. So as soon as they landed in the city, they're just like, this is it. Freedom. let's go hang out in the cafe for a little bit because we're grown-ups.
Oh, shit, Mom.
I'm sure, of course, they get like a fucking, like, you know, nice street side, like, little table or whatever. And she's just truncing down each path like, yeah, there you fucking are.
That's how
you think you're fucking
work, man. It's fucked up.
They know where you go.
They can just vibe it.
Actually, supposedly, while Claire, Mary, and Percy were on one boat, all their bags and shit were on the next ferry out of Dover, and Mary Jane was on that ferry with the bags, all tagged and ready to be sent to the hotel they were staying at. So Mary Jane knew exactly where to go.
Fucking dumbass kids.
And she was just there for Claire. She couldn't give a lesser shit as to what Mary was going to do. She was only there for her own kid. But after a full night of bickering, Claire told her mom that she wasn't going anywhere. So Mary Jane just left. She went back home. And while Mary Jane is on the journey back, one of William Godwin's pupils and a friend to William the Younger kills himself. And William the Younger is devastated. Young William runs away, and it takes 2 days to find him. And all of a sudden, the media catches wind of the once great Godwin household not being able to watch after their own fucking kids, and they become a laughingstock in the papers.
I'm sorry, I spaced out. What happened?
The youngest son ran away, and it took 2 days to find him, and now all the newspapers...
Suicide.
Yeah. Oh, is that the part where you somehow
I know something clicked in there, and I was like, "Shut it down." Sorry.
Yeah, all the newspapers know about. They know about Mary. They know about Claire. They know about this Percy kid, and now they know about William the Younger. And they're like, "Wow, what's going on in the fucking household that none of the kids want to be there?" Oh. Well, Mary, Percy, and Claire didn't last too long on their own. They pretty much hopped around Paris and made their way to Switzerland via any means possible. They hitched rides, taxied between towns. Sometimes they just had to old-fashioned hoof it. And I don't think it was as glorious as they thought it would be. Napoleon had, in recent years, attempted to invade Russia, which works out every fucking time, of course, while simultaneously pissing on Germany. By the time the three kids were making their way through France, Germany had chased Napoleon through France and all the way into Italy, so all they saw was devastation. Dead livestock, burned homes, people wounded. It wasn't quite the vacation they thought it was going to be.
What the fuck were they eating?
Jeez, I don't know. Whatever English people eat. Usually beans, I think.
Eels.
Eels?
Back to eels.
Eels, they come out of the ground. Yeah, I'm sure.
Big, nasty, tied-up plastic bag of fucking eels.
They're just carrying it around in like a little fucking Kmart shopping bag. Just like, here it is, the eels.
Fucking Lady and the Tramp and that shit.
It's disgusting.
Oh, yeah. Not if you're British.
Suck it right between the two teeth that you have. However, it was during this trip that Percy and Mary really started honing their writing skills, taking note of all the destruction they saw. But only about a month into their journey, a lack of funds forced the kids to turn back at Lucerne, Switzerland. They had unfortunately been spending like teenagers. Percy had even sent a letter to his wife, Harriet, because remember again, he is married, asking her to meet them in Switzerland with some cash, but for some reason she never responded.
I mean, hang the fuck on. I mean, in their defense, like, regardless of their work ethic, what are you going to do in a burned down town?
No. I mean, it wasn't completely destroyed, but I mean, like, well, okay, that would raise the point even greater than what the fuck are they doing with all their money? I think they were just spending lavishly, like, oh boy, we're middle class, you know?
Just burning it.
Mm-hmm. They were just keep going to those fucking machines that, like, for 50 cents and a penny, it's going to press it into a different design of burned down Europe. And they're just, they're like, God damn it, we still don't have the one of the dead man on the street over there. Like, keep putting them in. We just keep getting dead cow. While hopping several ferries, the three eventually made their way back to England on September 13th, 1814. And of course, William Godwin was fucking pissed. But them just running away to country hop on their own wasn't what made him disown Mary. It was the fact that she came back pregnant. But Mary and Percy weren't worried. They knew they were mature enough to raise a kid. So their next step, turning to Percy's parents for help. And boy, were they shocked to hear them say no. Remember, to them, dude just impregnated his mistress. Yeah, they're pissed.
Yeah.
Now, yeah. Now, eventually, Mary and Percy got a place of their own thanks to a loan. Claire went home, no issues there. Always love for Claire in the Godwin household. But suddenly, Mary and Percy were two ostracized, poor, and pregnant high schoolers. Especially Mary, because sometimes Percy would go to his other home, the one with, his wife, leaving Mary all alone.
So wait, he knocked two girls up and then went home? He knocked two girls up in war zones. And
he knocked up Mary.
Okay. Who did the other one?
Huh?
If we don't know who did the other one, then that's...
No, the other girl's not pregnant. It's just Mary came back pregnant.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
He said two...
No, but he's got two girls.
Yes.
Yeah. But Percy also had to leave for extended periods of time because there were moneylenders after him. And William Godwin was so pissed at Mary that he forbade her sisters Claire or Fanny from ever visiting her. But Fanny didn't really give a shit, especially when Mary came down with a terrible sickness during her pregnancy. She was there at her sister's side. And hell, Claire eventually moved in with Mary and Percy altogether. On November 30th, 1814, Mary got word that Percy's wife Harriet had had a son, and Mary's condition suddenly worsened. When Percy Shelley's grandfather died soon after, $220,000 was left to Percy. In today's money, it would be $14,028,836.61.
Oh, now we know the rates. Fuck you, Jordan.
Yeah, I started looking them up because you kept bitching about it. So fuck you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And I love you, bitch.
Oh, okay.
However, Percy's parents immediately took their son to court so the money would be placed into an account for his and Harriet's son, one which he couldn't touch. I mean, they knew he'd just run off with the money. And whilst Mary was left pregnant and alone, Percy would take long outings with her sister Claire. 100% they were fucking, and Mary knew it. Because Percy was very into the...
Did he have a history of this kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, he was into the free love movement and tried to convince Mary that she was too.
Did he?
Huh?
Did he?
No. But he did try. Percy had a friend named Thomas Hogg, quote unquote, watch over Mary while he was out banging her sister, hoping they'd fall in love, like Thomas and Mary would fall in love, and then he could just move on to Claire. Thing is, Thomas did fall in love with Mary, and Mary was kinda into Thomas too, but she still kept her pants on. Especially, I mean, I don't know how far along she was at this point, but she probably wasn't like, oh yeah, let's just push my baby belly to the side, you know?
I don't know. I don't know how pregnant sex works.
It works like a normal. It works like a normal person. Just don't bounce on the belly.
Okay.
I feel like I really gave you some good information there for later. Caleb, please do not bounce on the belly. Please remember this.
Why would you?
Because I don't trust you. Just don't bounce on the belly. And on February 22nd, 1815, Mary gave birth to a little girl, 2 months premature. The baby didn't last more than a couple weeks before she died in early March. And while Mary was more distraught than ever, Percy was in court, winning his inheritance back from his parents. To celebrate, he and Mary rented a 2-story cottage in Surrey, England, where they stayed for about a year, before returning to their home in London, and also bringing with them a new baby, William, named after Mary's father, and born on January 24th, 1816. Now, Mary and Percy thought naming their kid after Grandpa would be the sure thing to get back in good graces with him, but it didn't work. He was still having Fanny bounce messages
it's not really
between
a
them.
gesture that only takes like a fucking second,
right?
Like,
yeah, and I feel like they were doing it for definitely ulterior motives too. Like, hey, look, it's a William, not like the top 3 most common names right now. He's named after you. Can we borrow some fucking money?
Now I named my kid after you for nothing.
And I don't know if you remember this, but before Mary Jane's marriage to William, she actually had another kid besides Claire. Well, look, the kid was smart enough to sit on the sidelines this whole time and not cause any trouble. But basically, to end his story, it was around this time that Mary and Percy came back with their kid with no fanfare at all from Dad. And Charles Claremont said, fuck this family. At the age of 20, ran off to, I think, Paris and didn't really speak to his family again.
A lot has happened.
Best call.
Yeah. That's a lot to process by 20, and at that point, you're probably like, yeah, no, this is too much to process by 20.
He just walks around yelling all the time. People are like, why are you doing that? He's like, oh, I didn't know there was a lower volume. I heard he became a school teacher.
Good for him.
I guess.
Good for him.
Yeah. I feel like what a perfect, horrible childhood to give him to become a gym teacher, you know? Faster! And I don't know how true this is, but everywhere I look seems to say that Charles ended up getting struck and killed by lightning when he was 26.
Whoa.
So I guess short-lived freedom that he had, but yeah.
Yeah, well.
So basically, everyone is pissed off at everyone, and everyone's broke. Mary and Percy blew through his inheritance as quick as they got it, and they felt like they needed to escape all the problems that just seem to keep popping up whenever they create them. But then Claire shows up. She says, hey, I just met this guy, and he invited me to Switzerland. You guys should come. So they did. In May of 1816, Claire, Mary, and Percy, along with their infant son William, went to the Villa Diodati on the shores of Lake Geneva to meet Claire's friend.
They bring a fucking baby to a party.
Yeah. That friend was Lord Byron.
That's always a bummer.
Yeah. You know what, though? Who are they going to fucking give the kid to? Like, Dad isn't going to fucking pick it up. You know, Mary Jane Claremont is going to be like, I don't fucking want it.
Fucking money just to fucking pay somebody to take care
Not really. No,
they're that gung-ho. Like,
well, they're gung-ho about spending it, but
yeah.
Also they feel like those fucking, those like Facebook couples and shit. Like, I feel like had they been alive in this time, they would have had a picture of Harley Quinn and the Joker and just been like, he was her king and she was crazier than him, you know, that shit or something like that.
Like super fucking cringe shit.
You know that they would have been all about their MySpace pages. Like,
you see that shit and you're just like, okay, well, step one, unfollow.
But Dad, I made
but
you
I don't
part
want
of
to be rude,
my
so we'll keep you on.
Dad, you're part of my top 8. Like, doesn't that mean anything to you?
But
shit. Can't tip that beer.
That's some of the shit that you see people post and you're just like, what the fuck happened to you?
Yeah, I really get the vibes of like a Florida couple from these two.
When did we fucking trail off on these different paths where you had no idea on why the fuck that would be weird?
Like, they're all about their baby, and like Mary has a fucking like her baby's name tattooed somewhere on her leg, but she's also got a shamrock tattoo on the other side, you know? So this guy they met up with, Lord Byron, born George Gordon Byron on January 22nd, 1788, was an old money fuckboy just like Percy Shelley, who pretty much just had to not go out of his way to get into trouble, but he did it anyway. And like Percy, Lord Byron is someone we'll have to save for another episode. But the reason he was in Villa Diodati in the first place was because he'd racked up a considerable amount of debt traveling and was currently on the run from debtors. Also like Percy, Lord Byron was just trying to get away from his nagging family who were constantly bitching about things like, why do you leave your wife? And why do you fuck your sister? So yes, this guy had a reputation.
Oh. like confirmed sister fucking?
Yeah. But I want to say that they were step siblings though.
Dude.
I mean, still not related.
Dude.
It's probably worse if they were half siblings.
I mean,
but I don't know.
I mean, royalty's still fucking actual siblings.
Look, I didn't go full blown into his biography, but it's crazy as fuck. I can't wait to one day do an episode about him, but I haven't read any of his shit yet, so
okay,
give it time. But yeah, the dude was nuts.
So Lord Byron, sister fucker.
Yes.
Okay.
And sure enough, when the newspapers back home found out that William Godwin's kids ran away again, this time with Lord Byron.
Are they still kids?
She's... No, actually, I'm about to get into it, but Claire's 18, Mary's 18, their kid is 4 months old, Percy's 23, and Lord Byron's 28. Yeah, so once the newspapers found out that they ran away again, and this time it's with Lord Byron, who is not staying out of the newspapers at all, things were bad. But it was here on May 14th, 1816, that our group arrived at the Villa Diodati. 18-year-old Claire, 18-year-old Mary, 4-month-old William, and 23-year-old Percy met with the 28-year-old Lord Byron on May 25th, 10 days after their arrival, much to the surprise of Lord Byron. Well, luckily, he happened to bring with him his 20-year-old physician, John Polidori, who had gotten his degree 9 months earlier. A good thing, I say, because Claire was pregnant with Lord Byron's child. According to Byron, quote, and I believe I saw once that odd-headed girl who introduced herself to me shortly before I left England, but you do not know, that I found her with Shelley and her sister at Geneva. I never loved her nor pretended to love her, but a man is a man. If a girl of 18 comes prancing to you at all hours of the night, there is but one way. He's a bro.
There's not really a way. It's more of a decision.
Yeah, well, hey, what other way but the way of brothers, am I right? Sisters.
No.
Hot sisters.
No.
Claire and Lord Byron had met when he was director at the Drury Lane Theatre in London, where Claire, and Claire only, fell madly in love.
Is there even a regular... There's no age of consent at this point. We should probably just
I don't know.
We should probably just be grateful that it meets our current one.
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
whether or not
the fact that he mentioned
updated.
that she was 18 at the very least, that's good.
I guess that somehow fits.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's...
What?
Why would... never mind. I'm sure it's coincidence.
Claire managed to convince Lord Byron to meet her at an inn because it's not that difficult to get a guy to say yes to sex, but he made sure to say beforehand that they would not be together afterwards. And yet here, stuck at the Villa Diodati with her, Lord Byron would refuse to be left alone with Claire. And the Shelleys had to be there too, in each room. But one good thing that came of this was that Byron and Percy were new best friends from the time they met. Who would have guessed? Yeah, so they just fucking showed up at his fucking house. He invited us here, and then they broke in, and then 10 days later, he shows up, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing in my house? So, yeah.
Nice.
Now,
I've done that before, but never sober. These people are wild.
We're going to invent a new place and call it Tampa. Yeah, I'd fucking bet. Now, this little vacation on the shores of Lake Geneva probably would have been ideal, had this not been the specific year of 1816. This has been called by historians as, quote, the year without a summer and the Little Ice Age. This was due to the previous year's volcanic eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia. It is the largest eruption we have in recorded history and continued to erupt and spew ash for about 3 years before becoming dormant. The ash made its way around the world and caused the temperatures to drop to anywhere between 1 degree Fahrenheit to negative 1 degree Fahrenheit during the summer of 1816. And actually, Percy Shelley loved the dismal weather. He went on hikes, took the rowboat out. He was having a great fucking time.
Little freak.
Yeah. All the dreary weather was really getting his creative juices flowing. Mary Godwin, on the other hand, was having frequent nightmares. What probably didn't help matters was that a favorite nighttime read around the fire was the Phantasmagoriana, a French collection of German ghost stories translated to English and read aloud by Lord Byron. What I'm sure also didn't help, though, was that the party always turned to taking laudanum. Opium. But anyway, at some point...
It's not really a party. You ever been around a bunch of people on heroin?
No, but I've been around a bunch of people on opium.
That's weird.
Isn't that weird?
That's way weirder than being around people on heroin.
They had unfortunately
on opium.
Yeah, they had unfortunately done it all by the time I got there. I guess
plenty of fucking groups of people doing heroin in Portland. Never once have I been like, oh man,
they didn't act any different than stoners. I mean, all that we did was crash on the floor and.
What do you mean they don't act any different than stoners? They're literally
opium. Opium people. I mean, they didn't seem to act much different. We'd still just watch Fatboy Slim music videos. That was about it.
Maybe the activities are similar, but God, they're just unresponsive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
They're just off in that weird little world, and they're just getting their dick sucked off by angels.
Hey, do you remember those, God, what were they called? They were those anti-drug commercials specifically against weed. Yeah. And they had those really, like, stupid commercials about, like, man, we used to get high and go on the website, and it was a lot of fun, actually. They had, like, little games on there and shit. We're just...
Oh, this fucking
But anyway, at some point, with half of the people being present, some sort of writer, Lord Byron proposed that he, Percy, and Mary all write a ghost story of their own as a competition. By the end of the week, Mary Godwin still hadn't come up with anything. Lord Byron and Percy, though, they were busting out pages, and Mary wanted to join in on the fun, but she had complete writer's block. There we go.
Right there, bud.
Yeah. However, on one night's regular drunken discussion, they brought up the topic of life, more specifically, the process of galvanism, the method of electrocuting a dead animal and making it twitch. Dr. John Polidori. I mean, they weren't doing it themselves, but at the time, it was a relatively new practice. They thought it was neat. Like, electricity makes the muscles move.
No, I don't like, I get that it's interesting and everything, maybe for like a second, but then after a minute, you're like, yeah, you're just dicking with a dead animal right now. Like, can you please just like...
I am going to get it to sing Come On, My Honey.
There shouldn't be a study here. It should just be like, oh, look, it makes a twitch. Weird. And then you move on instead of just keeping to like, look, like...
They just keep it going. Just really quick pulses. Just fuck yeah.
I'm the puppet master.
I can imagine it somehow gravitated past like, okay, well, what's a bigger animal than a frog? Well, we're going to need more electricity for that until they just like blow up a sheep.
And no. And you know how that goes. And then they use bigger animals, and then now we're upgrading to people.
Yeah, we've been testing those
That's
out.
Exactly what happened, isn't it?
We've been testing those up on death row for a long time.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Well, Dr. John Polidori and Mary in particular were talking about how the body could just be an instrument for a man's soul. So if you were to shock a body awake, does it still retain a soul? Now, Mary... What? What?
There's just a bunch of retarded stuff in a
Yeah,
row.
they're drunk.
I'm sorry, I said the R word again. We were supposed to stop. My bad.
Oh, man. I wanted to call you another bad thing, just, Just like, you can't say that, you fucking...
Don't. We don't have the bleep installed. No! Don't buttons, man! They're fucking corny. They came stock with the machine. We're not touching them. The dick joke was the only good thing that ever will come from them. You leave them alone.
The dick joke is the only thing
You will hold the little... Fuck... Shut up. The little...
That's pretty good.
We don't have a lot of fucking dignity left on this podcast. We are not going to fuck around with these fucking soundboard and its little... And it's horseshit.
Damn it.
Stock... No, like fucking 8-year-olds, okay, with a keyboard or some shit.
Don't do it. No, remove your hand.
No.
So, all right, so this whole thing, if you shock a body awake, does it still retain a soul? Mary thought on this all fucking night. Her imagination was running wild, giving her what she called a waking dream, since she couldn't go the fuck to sleep. And she was probably also hopped up on opium too. But between 2 and 3 a.m. on the morning of June 16th, 1816, Mary Godwin got the idea for her ghost story. Quote, I saw the pale student of unhallowed arts kneeling beside the thing he had put together. I saw the hideous phantasm of a man stretched out and then, on the working of some powerful engine, show signs of life and stir with an uneasy, half-vital motion. Frightful must it be, for supremely frightful would be the effect of any human endeavor to mock the stupendous mechanism of the creator of the world. Thing is, when Mary came to the others with what little she had written, Lord Byron and Percy Shelley quit on the spot. But Dr. John Polidori looked at what Lord Byron...
They're like, yeah, we weren't even vibing it that hard. Goddamn.
Like... I was creating a new rap. So, Dr. John Polidori looked at what Lord Byron had scrapped and was like, hey, what is this? And he's like, it's just some tale about vampires I'd heard on one of my many grand tours. And Doctor was like, well, can I run with this and make it my own thing? And Lord Byron was just like, yeah, if you think you can. Eventually, Dr. John Polidori would develop this tale into a short story in 1819 called The Vampire, which actually gave us the tale of the vampire as we know it today. Came with all the fucking legends and superstitions of it. He pretty much created that on the spot. Anyway.
I thought that was like an older...
I mean, bits and pieces, but he's the one that like brought it all together, essentially.
Oh, okay.
By the end of August, the crew had all gone their separate ways. Dr. Polidori and Lord Byron went to Italy, where the doctor was dismissed and went back home to England, while Lord Byron went to Venice to bang married broads. Meanwhile, things were not quite going the direction Claire expected they would. She had hoped her sudden hostaging of Lord Byron would make him want to stick around, but no. So awkwardly, Claire stayed with Mary and Percy as they shacked up in the town of Bath, England, hoping to hide a very obviously pregnant and very unwed Claire from their friends and family. What also caused a little strain was that Mary had also ended up pregnant while at the Villa Diodati, and oh, who's the dad? There are rumors that this child was a product of Lord Byron, but honestly, nothing has given me the impression that Mary was actually into free love as much as Percy was, so I kind of doubt it.
She might have just been into Lord Byron.
Honestly, what if it's Dr. John? I mean, fucking they were vibing, on the whole twitching. Hey, it's just like making a frog's legs twitch. Look at my penis, Well, either way.
Can't fake the thigh twitch. Can't.
Well, Mary was kept inside her home to while away the months during her pregnancy. She was also expanding on the ghost stories she'd written at the villa at Percy's insistence. And while Claire, Mary, and Percy are all shacked up in Bath, Fanny Imlay was still running errands and forced to be the assistant to her struggling father back home. The quickly declining cash they had was making for very tense airs in the Godwin household. Unfortunately, Fanny saw this as all somehow her fault. She'd written letters to Mary begging to stay with her, but Percy didn't want the news of Claire's pregnancy reaching her father, or the news of Mary's pregnancy reaching Percy's wife. And Fanny also saw her being turned away as somehow her own fault. On the night of October 9th, 1816, Fanny Imlay checked into the Mackworth Arms Inn in Swansea, the same day that both Mary and William Godwin received their final letters from her. Both seeing that the letters came from Bristol, William and Percy rushed to the town to look for her, with no success. That night, Fanny Imlay ended her own life via laudanum overdose at the age of 22. She was found the next day with a suicide note which read, quote, "I have long determined that the best thing I could do was to put an end to the existence of a being whose birth was unfortunate, and whose life has only been a series of pain to those persons who have hurt their health in endeavoring to promote her welfare. Perhaps to hear of my death will give you pain, but you will soon have the blessing of forgetting that such a creature ever existed as," and the letters torn off from there. I'll get to that in a moment. That is where she would have signed her name. Percy managed to find her location a day later, and due to his family's influence, was able to make some quick, last-minute adjustments. First, the papers only mentioned Fanny's death, but said nothing of her suicide, because, of course, suicide was a largely taboo, much like it is today, but back then seen as downright shameful. Next, he tore off the bottom of Fanny's suicide letter where she had signed her name and burned it to better hide the identity of the body. Finally, to both he and William Godwin's agreement, her body went unclaimed, so she was buried in an unmarked grave.
How do we have record of this?
They fucking wrote about it. Like, these are people that are so shitty to the eldest sister that they let this shit go on, and they fucking discombobulate the whole fucking crime scene, and then they are like, well, people are going to want to know what I thought about it, and then they fucking wrote about it.
It's like Always Sunny level of fucking shithead.
Isn't it?
But it's like, whoa, okay,
yeah,
this
but
is
it's
terrible,
not funny.
but let's make sure that we don't look bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, but here's the thing. This may seem a little harsh, but in a letter from Godwin to Shelley, he said, quote, "Do nothing to destroy the obscurity she so much desired. That now rests upon the event. It was, as I said, her last wish." And Godwin, in turn, completely covered up what happened to Fanny. If someone asked where she was, he'd say teaching in Ireland or on vacation. If someone found out she died, like reading the fucking newspaper, he'd say it was from a fever. But if someone confronted William Godwin that Fanny killed herself, he said it was the fault of Percy Shelley. But yeah, that whole thing was just, they wanted to do it because she wanted to die in obscurity. That's the whole reason she killed herself, was to free everybody from the burden that was Fanny. So Fanny fucking killed herself.
Oh, Jesus.
Right, exactly. And so they were like, well, let's just act as if she never existed, like she wanted. Like that was basically their end result. It was like, wow, I feel like maybe you didn't quite get that this is somehow your fault.
Okay.
Right?
All right, we're not going to adjust our behavior at all and move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Well, what was that girl's name? Oh, we're not going to speak of her. Yeah, I guess you're right. Fuck her. Yeah, just...
No, don't say it. It makes me giggle every time. Ooh, that's...
You know who she was named after, right? Fanny Blood. No.
Yep. Back there.
Hit the funny button.
No, dude. I just had a meltdown.
A few months after Fanny's death, in December of 1816, Harriet Westbrook, Percy's estranged wife, also committed suicide by drowning herself in Hyde Park. She was pregnant at the time. This, too, was hushed up by Percy's family. In her suicide letter, she asked Percy to take care of their son, Charles, but to leave their daughter in the care of Harriet's sister. But Percy wanted them both, while Percy's parents rightly did not want him to raise any children at all. According to Percy's lawyers, he would need to sell his image as a family man if he wanted even a chance of getting custody of his kids. So on December 30th, 1816, at St. Mildred's Church in London, Mary Godwin became Mary Shelley.
Oh, that's what we're doing.
Oh, man, that took you a bit.
No. I kind of figured it with the electric shock bits.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
I mean, hey, everybody had fucking Adult Swim. Come on.
Yeah. What?
Never mind. Go on.
However, marrying your mistress 2 weeks after your wife's suicide, believe it or not a good look. So his kids were given to a foster family. Also partly because Percy was an atheist. That was just something they would bring up in the court, like, yeah, he married that girl just 2 weeks after his wife's suicide. Yeah, and he's an atheist.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
Get him out of here! I'm gonna be sick!
Oh, well, that explains it.
One good thing that came from the marriage, though, was that it finally ended the rift between the newlywed Shelleys and Mary's parents, who were actually present at their wedding. Now, throughout Claire's pregnancy, she'd written letters to Lord Byron, updating him on her progress, to which he never responded. On January 12th, 1817, Alba Byron was born. Alba means dawn in an old Catalan language. In particular, it was a famous type of poetry about two lovers that must keep their love a secret. Huh? Get it? It's like them.
Yep, got it.
Anyway, the news of what her name shall be was the only time Lord Byron broke his silence and said, that name's fucking stupid, name her Allegra instead, which Claire did not do. I fucking love this guy. Doesn't say a fucking thing, and then when she's just like, her name's gonna be Alba. Her name sucks.
Just don't. No.
Now, if people saw Claire's newborn babe hanging around the Shelleys, everyone would know this kid belonged to Claire. And with no other guy around besides Percy, everyone would assume he was knocking up two broads at the same time. So they put Alba in the care of a friend for a few months, making up a story that she belonged to a friend of a cousin. And then they, quote-unquote, adopted the child after.
Oh, man, it's really cute they thought anybody wouldn't immediately...
Yeah. No, it didn't work. It didn't work, and the neighbors instead thought Percy had knocked up two broads at the same time.
You don't even care enough about this very serious situation to come up with a decent...
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. On top of this, which was bad enough for back then especially, they also noticed that he was locking them away too, you know? So they were like, oh, wow, this is cultish, you know? Incidentally, that's what William Godwin thought was going on too, that Percy was actually just keeping his daughters locked away in a house and just banging them at will and just making a little fucking village of children.
We've come a very long way.
Nobody trusts this man. I
From hanging out at the gates of the property.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Well, on September 2nd, 1817, Mary gave birth to a little girl herself, Clara Shelley. And it was the last months of her pregnancy that Mary finished the revisions on the old ghost story she'd started at the Villa Diodati, her first novel, and the work she'd be most remembered for, Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus. Yes. And we will...
What's that?
You know the Robert De Niro movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And we will pick up back there next week. This is either going to be a 2 or 3-parter. It's hard to say right now. There's a lot on this chick because they just were not stopping being shitty kids throughout their entire lives.
I don't know, we could just do it tomorrow, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. No, we'll see how it goes.
Actually, I don't know. Well, I still want to release it a week from now then. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. But
give me time to read. Yeah. My sources so far, I think, have actually just been Wikipedia at this point. But
just Wikipedia?
Yeah, because this is just their lives so far.
No, say Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. Wiki?
Yeah, what do you...
Wiki.
All right.
Is it wiki?
No, yeah, it's Wikipedia.
Say uncomfortable.
What?
Say uncomfortable.
No, I don't want to.
Uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable. Fuck off,
Say
dude.
it like a beat, man. That is the most Puerto Rican thing. You just got to beatbox your fucking language in here.
Shut. No.
So, we'll get into, of course, not just the story of Frankenstein itself, but we'll get into the fucking themes. We'll get into what the story is truly about and everything. And I don't know why this has happened, but all of a sudden, my phone has been giving me targeted ads like I'm very right-wing, and I don't know why. I'm not just getting ads for ED pills, but I'm also getting ads for fucking Breitbart. And so one of the ads...
Breitbart?
Breitbart? Is that what it's called? Breitbart? I don't know.
I don't think either of us are qualified to answer the correct pronunciation of
Who
that
gives a shit?
We're not connoisseurs of that particular...
That place is a sewer.
Yeah.
And so one of the ads came up, and it was like a 30-second unskippable fucking ad. And it was like this guy and this girl, and they're like talking, just a couple of talking heads and shit. And they're like, yeah, actually, so we're doing a little book club right now. And Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is what we're going to be talking about. And it's got a lot of good themes in here. But the one very interesting that no one's talking about, don't trust scientists. And I was like, mad.
I know why you're getting the targeted ad for it. It's because you were like searching a bunch of shit on that topic. Duh.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like when I was like calling everybody clowns for a joke for a month when I like found out about that fucking meme like a year late. And then I started getting recommended, weird kinky clown stuff on
I
Facebook.
wasn't looking for that on purpose at all.
Totally not.
It's a joke.
Not for
but
me.
Yeah, I'm going to give a little spoiler alert right here, but not trusting scientists is not one of the themes, and it's not what the fucking book is about. This was actually going to be when I first decided that when I decided we were going to do this podcast, and I decided for you, this was actually the first person I was like,
I agreed, I have free will.
I was like, yeah, let me check out Mary Shelley, because, as far as I know, I just know Frankenstein. She's got a lot more work than that, and her life was too interesting. I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to put this one in the back burner a little bit. And I did. And so now here we are. It took me forever, but we did it. I did this.
For this part of the possibly 3-parter episode, it really feels like, I don't know, we had 5-10 minutes of funsies, and then it was just what is usually the first 5 minutes of an episode, which is going over dates and logistics of fucking things, but for an entire goddamn episode instead.
Yeah. These kids are shitty, man. They just
there's a lot here.
Yeah, these kids just fucked around the world and just ate up money and resources.
Wait, around the world? I thought they were mostly just in Europe.
Yeah, that's still around. That's
very
around a
small.
curve.
That's fucking isn't our fucking country
larger than all?
Yeah,
so
I've been across that bitch.
Yeah, you've been around the world a little bit. You've been across a curve of
I've been through a bit of it. I've literally never been out of the United States in my life, and I probably never will be. But It's a tiny little pocket. I haven't even been to Hawaii. Like,
it's not worth. It's fine. It's fucking fine.
Right.
I don't like beaches actually, so just not a beach guy.
Because you're a weird Pacific Northwest fuck, and
I like the dirt.
Oh, do you guys want to go out to the coast on the weekend? And then you go out there, and it's like fucking foggy and cold as shit, and you can't get in the water, and the fucking sand hurts your feet, and you're like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This
hate
sucks.
sand, and I'm terrified of water, so the coast is not for me. I like dirt, and trees, mountains. I don't like hiking, but I'll go look at them, from a bench that I can eat my Lunchables on.
Just like to look at pictures from time to time, set it as your office desktop background.
No. God.
What?
That's all my life is. I'm so fucking sad.
It's okay. Well, your life could be mine where you're actually having to be out in it, and then you learn a new way to hate it.
No. Look at me. See, I'm really happy. I hate it.
Okay, maybe an editing point there. Dear God, we got a bit dark for a minute.
No, it's fine. This is these are gothic authors.
Is this on par with the rest of the cast? I don't fucking know. I'm in a weird mood.
I don't care.
But
hey, support your local sex worker.